Kyle Larson spent 2 full years preparing for the hardest single-day challenge in motorsport. 1,100 miles, 2 different race cars, 2 different tracks, 1 Memorial Day Sunday to do all of it. He tried it twice, and now Amazon Prime Video just dropped the documentary that captures everything the camera saw behind closed doors. So what does this film actually reveal that the race broadcasts never showed you? Let's start with the history, because the scale of what the double demands deserves to be stated clearly. The Indianapolis 500 is 500 miles around the 2.5-mile oval at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 200 laps at speeds that regularly touch 230 miles per hour in an open-wheel IndyCar. The Coca-Cola 600 is 600 miles around Charlotte Motor Speedway, 400 laps, in a NASCAR Cup Series stock car. The combined total is 1,100 miles of professional racing across 2 different disciplines, 2 different machine types, 2 different physical demands, separated by a private jet flight from Indiana to North Carolina, and maybe 45 minutes of recovery time if everything goes perfectly. In the entire recorded history of this challenge, only 5 drivers have ever attempted it in earnest. John Andretti in 1994, Robbie Gordon, Tony Stewart in 2001, Kurt Busch in 2014, and Kyle Larson across 2024 and 2025. And of all 5 of those drivers, in all those attempts across 3 different decades, exactly 1 person has ever actually completed all 100 miles. Tony Stewart, that is the list. Tony Stewart in 2001, finishing 6th at Indianapolis and 3rd at Charlotte Motor Speedway, one man completing what every other driver who has tried it could not finish. That is the wall Larson was running at. In 2024, Larson made his first attempt behind the wheel of the number 17 Aero McLaren Chevrolet, a partnership built between Aero McLaren and Hendrick Motorsports, specifically to give the reigning Cup champion a credible IndyCar platform. He started from 5th on the grid at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and was absolutely in contention for a strong finish, but the Indiana sky had a different plan. A 4-hour rain delay pushed the Indy 500 so far back that Larson, even after finishing the race in 18th after a late pit road speeding penalty knocked him out of the top 10, could not get to Charlotte in time. He flew from Indianapolis, landed at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and arrived in the garage to find that rain had found the Carolina evening too, and NASCAR had already called the 2024 Coca-Cola 600 short of its scheduled completion. Kyle Larson did not turn a single lap at Charlotte that day. He became the first driver since Davy Jones in 1995 to attempt the double and only actually compete in one of the 2 races. He was also named 2024 Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year, which was a genuine accomplishment swallowed whole by the disappointment of the day. But he was going to try again. The 2025 attempt is where the documentary spends most of its emotional weight, and with good reason, because what unfolded across that Memorial Day Sunday was the kind of day that tests exactly how much punishment a competitor can absorb before something inside them breaks permanently. Larson qualified 19th at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 2025 Indy 500. He was working his way through the field on a restart when, entering turn 2 at 220+ miles per hour, he downshifted and felt the car get completely loose underneath him. He spun. The Aero McLaren Chevrolet hit the wall, collected Stingray Robb and Keithan Simpson in the process, and Larson's Indianapolis 500 was finished on lap 91 of 200. He climbed out of the car on his own, got into a helicopter, and flew to Charlotte Motor Speedway where the Coca-Cola 600 was about to begin. He had not won at Indy, but he still had 600 miles of NASCAR racing ahead of him. At Charlotte Motor Speedway, he started from the outside of the front row, 2nd on the grid, and immediately drove to the front. He led 34 laps in the opening stage, looking genuinely fast, and for a brief stretch in the early going, it seemed like the day was going to find its redemption arc right there in the North Carolina darkness. Then on lap 43, he spun all by himself. No contact, no incident, just the car getting away from him at a moment that simply could not have come at a worse time. He survived it. He got back on the lead lap when the caution flew on lap 200, and the free pass put him back in position. And then on lap 245, Daniel Suarez came across the racetrack and collected the number 5 Hendrick Chevrolet, ending Larson's night with a 37th place finish and no path to redemption remaining. 2 races, 2 crashes. Not a single completed attempt at 1,100 miles across 2 full seasons. A bummer of a day all around, he told Fox Sports afterward. Later he said, "I hate the way the day went. I feel terrible for everybody, especially for Rick Hendrick." And then came the real moment of reckoning. When asked about a 3rd attempt in 2026, Larson said something that tells you everything about where his head had arrived by the end of that day. "The double is just a tough undertaking. The window of time is too tight. Even if I didn't wreck, I don't think I would have made it here on time. So I don't really think it's worth it." That is a 2-time Cup champion, one of the most competitive human beings in the sport, looking at a challenge he spent 2 years preparing for and saying out loud that the logistics might simply be impossible regardless of what happens on track. Arrow McLaren confirmed it official in November 2025 when they announced Ryan Hunter-Reay, the 2012 IndyCar champion and 2014 Indy 500 winner, would take the number 17 seat for the 2026 running of the race. Larson's seat was filled. His double chapter was officially closed. He also clarified publicly that family was a significant reason for stepping back, calling it genuinely difficult to balance that level of preparation with time at home, and openly saying he does not think he will ever find a perfect formula for that balance. So what is Kyle Larson versus the double actually about, beyond the crashes and the weather and the 2 bad days? The documentary, directed by Emmy and Peabody Award-winning filmmaker Cynthia Hill and produced with Imagine Documentaries, Marquee Media, and NASCAR Studios, with Hendrick Motorsports Vice Chairman Jeff Gordon serving as executive producer, began filming in October 2023 and ran cameras through the 2025 Coca-Cola 600. More than 2 years of footage was cut down into just over 90 minutes, and what Larson allowed those cameras to capture goes significantly beyond what any race broadcast could ever show. Cameras went inside race shops at Hendrick Motorsports and Arrow McLaren. Cameras went on the private jet between Indianapolis and Charlotte. Cameras went into Larson's home. He said at a private screening before the premiere that his favorite parts of watching the documentary were seeing the moments he was not even present for, the work his crew and team were doing on his behalf in the hours before and between races. He also said something at that screening that cuts to the absolute core of why this documentary matters, regardless of what sport you follow.